go into the Board of Ambulance again.
Mr. Chair, make a motion that we enter into the Board of Ambulance.
Have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rylan Hearn, Bannock County Ambulance District. Just thanks for giving me the opportunity to meet with you today. I just wanted to bring a couple of issues to your attention, have a discussion, and maybe get some guidance. The first one is a bit of a problem that has arisen through the course of the summer and into the fall. We've been having failures of our station alerting system. This is the system that ties the stations into our dispatch center so that when a dispatcher receives a 911 call and alerts the ambulance or fire unit of an emergency, it's supposed to, open the station. It broadcasts over the loudspeakers. And since about midsummer, we've been having frequent failures of that system. It's about once a week, although it's very random. And this weekend we had 2 in one day on Saturday and 1 on Sunday. So as you can imagine, if crews aren't right there watching the computer screen to know that there's a call that pops up on the Spillman, which is our computer-aided dispatch screen, it can lead to significant delays because the crew isn't aware that there's an emergency that they need to respond to. The system we're using is fairly dated. I think it's equipment that has been pieced together over the years, but it really kind of predates the 911 system, probably back to the 80s in some cases. And so it's due for an update. Unfortunately, we didn't anticipate and recognize this during the budget process, and so now we're in a situation where we have a capital need that needs to be addressed and we're just searching for all options. I presented last Thursday to the city of Pocatello when they were considering ARPA projects. Then I kind of thought, well, I need to come and have the same conversation with you to make sure you're aware of the problem. And so the new system that we're looking for is a Motorola system. There are a couple of systems on the market. The one that we've researched the most is a Motorola system. We're not asking for permission today or anything. It is about $600,000 to update every station in the Pocatello Fire Department. It's a little over $100,000 per station. 3 of those stations do house first line ambulances, advanced life support ambulances, and all stations except for the one at the airport house a reserve ambulance that is part of the capacity of the EMS system. It will lead to more reliable station alerting, and it will also add some redundancy to the system, because once the consoles that the 911 system has paid for, the upgrade in the Pocatello Dispatch Center, this will allow these station alerting components to tie into any dispatch center in the county, Chubbuck, and Pocatello. So it would add some redundancy in the event that Pocatello Dispatch has to shut down because of fire or something and move to another dispatch center. It would add for a more seamless transition. It also takes some of the workload off of dispatchers because it automates a lot of the dispatching process. Right now they have to get off of the 911 call and actually verbally dispatch the units, whereas this new one is a text-to-voice program where the system actually can interpret the text that's being entered into the fields, and it will create a computerized voice like Siri on the dispatch system, so it's much more seamless for the dispatcher. One of the, this is an issue that even if we had the money today and it was on the shelf, we wouldn't be able to install these until we get the upgraded consoles. So at this point, I'm just trying to bring this to the forefront to talk about potential funding options, anything from ARPA to a capital expenditure, from reserves to grant opportunities, and we are pursuing all of those options. So I just kind of wanted to make you aware of some of the things that we're experiencing. Right now, the workaround we have, it as I said, it's very random, not associated one time a day or one station, but right now our workaround is a cell phone app that people have on their phone that hopefully they're getting alerted in both, and in the event that the one fails, the other is the backup, so.
I guess part of my question is, this seems like the city of Pocatello's units, not Bannock County's.
Well, it is, they are
Well, we
wired into the station.
Well, we pay Pocatello for these services. I mean, we assigned the bill for the monthly contract. Is, I mean, that seems like them upgrades and updates should be part of that contract,
Yeah.
to me.
What was Pocatello's stance on it when you visited with them?
They believe that it's a shared cost. They would like to see both entities share the cost.
The other question I have is, have you talked to Adam?
We have, and actually, I just had the opportunity to attend the 911 meeting last night. I'm not on that commission, but I had talked to Adam about this issue, and so I was able to have a conversation, and he's, you know, I told the group that I was coming to talk to you. We're hoping to pursue some opportunities with grants, and as well, there's support from the entire board to try to address this system. But at this point, we're trying to educate, get some feedback on what you would like to see, what you think is appropriate, and give us some direction on how to move forward.
So your total stations was 6?
Is 600,000, and that's for 5 stations.
5 stations, and of the 5, 3 of them have ambulances.
4 of them have ambulances. 3 of them are the frontline stations that have a fully staffed 24/7 ambulance. 1 of them is a reserve ambulance.
Okay.
And Chief O'Hearn did contact me, and I let him know that we don't have the abilities to open the budget for reserves. That's not an option that the counties have. We would either have to budget for it or find a different funding source. We already have a few capital projects that we're going to have to get creative with, depending on grant opportunities. So there is absolutely no room within the existing budget to cover it.
You talked to Wes.
We have, he mentioned some other, we were looking at a grant last summer, and I think it's through the Bureau of Justice. We were feeling pretty optimistic about that one, but right as we were approaching the deadline to submit, it kind of fell apart, and we didn't really have an opportunity to change course and run it through either the county or the city. I think it was the one that CCOG had been working on. We're going to look at that one again this year. Right now, our primary grant that we're evaluating is the Assistance to Firefighters grant, and our thought on that is to potentially run it as a regional grant between us, the Chubbuck Fire Department, and the ambulance district. The city, the ambulance district, and Chubbuck, where we can get 3 entities that are all partnering to try to get this. Chubbuck is interested in an upgrade. They're not experiencing the same failures, but this system has a lot more components that add for opportunities to do a tone that ramps up. So instead of just hitting the station, and they call it that startle response, it will start quiet and kind of ramp up. You can get it to where it will turn on lights, it will shut off appliances, it will open doors. Obviously, all of those are options. They're not part of the base model that we're talking about here. We're just looking for a reliable alerting system.
Is the city going through procurement for it, since we're at that threshold?
We haven't gotten that far to where we've actually, all we've gotten is a price estimate. I believe that it's probably offered under one of the Sourcewell or the GPPO contracts, and we would ensure that, or else put out an RFP.
Just one less,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah, so.
Well, I'm gonna have to digest this a little myself.
Yeah, I didn't expect an answer from you today. Mostly, I know you're hearing this for the first time, but I just wanted to get it on your radar.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. The second item that I just wanted to, again, share some information, and this one maybe get a little bit of guidance, is that we're exploring the possibility with the crisis center here in town of using them as a destination for some of our patients. Right now, our medical protocols only allow us to transport to Portneuf Medical Center per our medical director's policies. We're exploring the option. Sometimes there are patients that are dealing with either mental health issues or possibly even substance abuse issues that maybe, although the ER isn't necessarily the wrong place to take them, maybe it's not the best place to take them. This would be a patient that's completely medically stable. Maybe they're just saying, hey, I'm just having some problems. I'm feeling like I'm going to use again or something like that, which is really what the crisis center is set up for. So we've talked with Portneuf. They're in favor of it. The crisis center certainly is supportive of it. Our medical director is supportive of it. I think it even would take some pressure off of the ER and potentially even the jail. The reason I'm bringing it to you is that we would not be able to bill for this service under insurance because the crisis center is not a covered destination. And so we would be in a situation where we're also not providing any medical care to these patients. This is something where we've gone to someone's house, we've conferred with medical control, we've determined that this patient probably doesn't belong in the ER, that they need something a little lower level that's a voluntary process, and then we would take them there. So we could either, currently we would have to bill them for the full amount because we couldn't bill that to insurance, and I'm not even sure in some cases whether you can bill a patient for a non-covered service. So the reason I'm coming to you is I, excuse me, didn't want there to be any appearance of us giving away services or writing off services. We think this would be a very low frequency event right now. We went back for the last 2 years, and it's probably less than one patient per month. These are patients that end up either being transported by private vehicle or by police or sheriff's officers. We feel that having the ability for us to say, you know, we're not going to make you get in the back of a squad car to go to the crisis center, we can just give you a ride, would help our providers feel like they're helping these patients and take some pressure off those other entities. So,
Have you talked with Portneuf Health Trust at all about something like this?
I'm not sure. I mean, I have not talked to them directly about this process. I mean, I know they're involved with the crisis center. Do you mean as far as like reimbursement, or?
There's a potential, I think, there for something like that. Could reach out to Sean Menchaca and see if there's something that they'd be willing to do, because I know they've talked about doing some transporting for cases like that.
So as a possible funding mechanism for these
Yeah.
transports?
Yeah.
What would you bill for those?
Well, currently, we don't have in our fee resolution, we don't have a non-covered entity. We would probably have to bill either the basic life support transport, which would be about $500.
Could you throw it as a transport?
We could call it a transport, but we wouldn't be able to bill it, and it would fall wholly on the patient, and we're just worried about whether that drives our collections rates, or these are people that are already in crisis and have limited resources, and we just wanted, you know, we're questioning whether that's the right thing to do and whether it will drive our collections and our write-offs.
What would you think the cost would be though for
Well,
a situation like that?
I mean, again, we're not providing, one of their criteria is these patients have to be stable and voluntarily willing to walk into the center, and so we would contact them. It essentially would just be a ride. So we're just talking about crew time and fuel.
So like a couple $100 cost?
Yeah, maximum.
Okay. Another option that, when we talked about this, was we have all that opioid money, and I haven't had the abilities to meet yet with legal And Braden and I have talked about trying to put a group together and run through what the appropriate costs or charges that we could use that money for. So I don't know if this would be an option, but I threw it out there as a potential. Braden and I are going to try and probably try and meet with Brian or Alan before we meet with a group of people, just to see if what I read through the criteria of what's eligible is actually appropriate. But this potentially
Seems like it would
could
be
be
a
an
good
option
Seems like
if we don't have any other resources.
Okay.
That's why I was wondering what the cost was, is so that if we could set something up, that could be a use of those monies so that it makes the
Is
district.
Chantel here today?
No, she'll be back on Monday.
Okay. I was just gonna say that this would be something I'd encourage you to also talk to the CBIC board, the Crisis Center
Mhm.
board. And Chantel's not here today, but there's a meeting on the 30th at 10 o'clock. That it wouldn't be bad to have that board involved with discussion also.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to the discussion, because, again, if it's one of those things that can keep them out of the jail, or that situation where we had the patient go to the hospital, but then got trespassed into the jail.
Well, that's part of the
what
concerns, I mean, in other counties, is getting people to the crisis center.
Right.
And any method that we could come up with that would help people get there. And like I say, keep them out of jail, keep them out of the emergency room and stuff, and give them the help that they actually need.
That's
It's not
exactly what spurred the conversation with the crisis center about whether this is an option, whether we'd be able to do this. So I'm just trying to bring it to everybody's attention to see whether there are anything I'm not seeing, any reasons that we shouldn't do this. And obviously the funding is the reason I'm before you. I don't want to appear to be giving away county resources or services.
Well, I think it's worth looking at, so
Okay.
continue.
So I'll explore those three, Port of Health Trust and maybe the opioid money, and then also talk to the Crisis Center board to see if there's any funding on their
How
side.
much opioid money did we receive? Do you remember?
I've gotten $185,000 disbursement of at least one for 45, and I think possibly another one, but I don't want to quote that dollar amount.
Okay, I was
So,
thinking 180-ish, so.
I was thinking we've gotten two, 180, and then a 45 one. So we're looking at almost half, $250,000.
So that could fund it for a while if we,
Mhm.
if that's an allowable usage, then.
Yeah, and
Okay.
that's,
I can't imagine that wouldn't be allowable.
Well, it's tied directly to it.
Seems perfect.
it's treatment of opioid.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So to me, it seems almost like a no-brainer, but
Yeah.
I would prefer that legal make that determination maybe.
Yeah.
So to be clear then, at this point, explore some other funding options, but don't transport to this facility and not charge a patient, is that correct?
If it's,
Or-
if it's pretty minimal, I'm not gonna.
One thought I had is that currently we're not doing this, and we're really not tracking it very well because it's not even an alternate destination. One option I thought is that we could try it for 3 to 6 months, see what impact it has on our service, and then I could come back and say, we've had X number of public service transports.
Well, we're paying it anyway. We're paying, I mean,
It would be no additional cost.
no
It would
additional
be-
cost.
It
So
would be,
And if he could track it separate, then if there is this option, then we could make it whole. So you could
Yeah.
almost do a billing for it. I don't know that, don't send a bill, but put it in your
Keep a line
system.
item.
just
For it?
log what you're doing
Okay.
so that we have
So-
an idea.
Could you
Trial-
just do it for 90 days?
yeah.
Would that, do you think that would give us enough data
I
points?
think it would, and particularly the time of year that we're coming up on. This
Okay.
is a really busy time of year for mental health and other crisis. I know we've talked to the crisis center, and they have said the same. And so I think this is the perfect period of time to see what type of impact it would have to our system.
And I'll try and get with Brian after the meeting, if he's available, just to see when he could talk about it.
But this is one that's about people more than money.
Yeah, so,
We're going to track it, we're going to start doing it for the next 90 days, and then I'm going to report back to you on the impact to the system.
great.
Please,
All right.
thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Yep,
All right.
thank you, Ryan. Chief?
It was a misdemeanor, correct, one morning. I told him as soon as he's.
Mr. Chair, make a motion that we exit the Board of Ambulance.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next.
Morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I need to introduce myself. Annie Hughes, Bannock County Event Center. Want to introduce yourself, Arlo?
Arlo Luke.
So Arlo is here this morning. We would like to, well, ISU would like to rent the amphitheater and pavilions 1 and 2 on Wednesday, July 12th for an international choral festival. And they are asking to waive the fee for the amphitheater, but they would pay the pavilion fees. And if you'd like to tell them a little bit about your...
Okay, thank you. The Idaho International Choral Festival, I don't know if you're familiar with it at all. It's been here for some 20-some years. And I got hooked into it by Steve Hotchkiss. I don't know if you remember him. I was extremely busy at the time. And I've been here ever since, gone through Dr. Bryden and Paul Link. You probably know Paul. And we're a community of, we're a community organization partnered with the city of Pocatello and Chubbuck and Idaho State University. It's really, Idaho State University plays a major role because they give us their venues and the Performing Arts Center, and we have concerts up there. But we actually, the Choral Festival happens every 2 to 3 years. It's probably one of the most phenomenal things that happens in this community that is unknown. And we try to promote it, but you know, the arts, I'm a big fan of both the arts and sports, and I'm multifaceted. But arts is a big thing in my life. I've been in symphony, I've sung, I lead choirs, but I also play sports and do all the other things. But arts has been a diminishing thing in our world, and if you know anything about education, it's they give a minute amount to supporting it. So we have to keep it going. It's a heavenly part of our culture, and we've had some wonderful people over the many years support the arts. And what we do, we're one of 2 festivals in the United States ongoing, because they can't afford it. Because I've traveled to Europe, Germany, and Italy with the Idaho State Camerata, well, the Camerata singers, and we had to pay for everything. But we're one of 2 in the nation that's been ongoing, and the reason is because we have an outpouring of support in this community. We could not do it without the members of the community. I don't know if any of you have ever been involved in it, but we bring in choirs from all over the world. I've got a list of them, and I think it would be interesting for you to see where they're coming from. We've got right now on board 13 choirs from anywhere from China to Taiwan or Africa. We've had them from South America, and they come in every 2 to 3 years. And the only reason we're able to pull this off is because of people like you and I. That they come in for about a week, and the people house them in their homes. It's frankly, financially, we have to raise money ourselves, and with people like Idaho Central Credit Union and banks, and the help of the university and the city of Pocatello, it's financially out of our pockets. It costs around $70,000 to $80,000, and that's not easy when you have no place to get the funds. We bring in several hundred people, and we put them in the homes. They stay there for a whole week. They feed them, they take them, drive them over, and what happens is that they become lifetime friends. And we are blessed in this community to have a choral festival. One of the unique things of the festival that's happened in the last few years is we have an Idaho all high school choir. And we have kids, particularly from southeastern Idaho, come to it. We pay in a person that's high-end conductor, and it makes it a lot of fun. What happens during the week is that they come, and we have an opening ceremony, and that's what we're talking about at the Wellness Center. When we first began, we held it at the band shelter down Ross Park. And then we moved it to the Performing Arts Center. And we thought it would be wonderful to take it to the Wellness Center. It's a big stage and people can out, and we would hold it in the daytime. 3 years ago, we held it in the evening. And what we do is we bring them up on stage. We have the mayors and the university president, and we would invite one of you to join us and to welcome these choirs. They'll sing a song, and there'll be maybe a few hundred people there is all. And then during the week, we have workshops, we have games, we play. We get very close to these people from all over the world. And then every night, every afternoon, we have a concert, different places up at the university, out on the quad. And then we have locations throughout the city, generally churches. We go to some of the old churches like the Episcopal Church. It's got a lot of good sound effects. Some of our churches don't have good sound effects for music. And they try to keep the baby noise down, I think. But we have every night a concert. And then on Saturday night, we have this massive gala concert where they all sing and they all cheer each other, and the Performing Arts Center is packed. We charge a little bit, but we don't get much money out of the tickets. So it's a wonderful thing that happens in this community, and it's only because of the dedication of many people who believe in the arts and believe in the international reach out, and Pocatello is really exceptional that way. So we want to do, we have our opening social. We did it 2-3 years ago at the Wellness Center. We had games and we fed them and we sang and everything. But we want to have a formal introduction on a stage. And we did it last year in the Performing Arts Center, Stevens. We'd like to do it at the Wellness Center this year. I think, what was the gentleman out at the Wellness Center? Scott? Yeah.
No, Scott.
He tried to persuade us to have one of our concerts there, but there was some conflict there. Maybe we'll do it in the future. So that's what we're here for, to request a forgiveness of that. We have great cooperation from the city of Pocatello. They provide buses all week long to transport us around. The university gives us major concessions in the Performing Arts Center and various venues around the center. Do you have any questions about it?
You said you invite the mayors. You know, there's 7 mayors in Bannock County. I'm just saying.
Okay, I know what you're saying.
When you invite some, you should invite them all.
They are impressed, and the Shinies, the people, they're impressed with officials, and they like to take a picture next to them. But we would invite you.
I'm just,
Oh, no, it would make
there's
it
7
more.
mayors in Bannock County. 2 of them get a lot of headlines.
Yeah, I know.
And your dates are open for this?
It's on a Wednesday, so it's not a busy time for us during that week.
Any setup and,
That's, the only thing I was wondering was trash removal and stuff, if we charge another $50 for the amphitheater to help with the trash removal and stuff there. So if we went, looks like they're willing to
100
pay.
is what they're paying already, so 150.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we have that stuff covered.
Do you feel good about 150?
For what?
So Pavilion 1 and Pavilion 2,
Mhm.
when I met with Paul, he agreed to pay for those, which would be $100 for the day.
You're okay with
Yes.
And
that?
then for trash, okay.
I think that it's not costing us anything extra for the $100 for the pavilions. So the $100 covers the garbage and
Okay,
stuff,
so
in
we'll
my
just do
opinion.
$100. Okay.
And
Oh, yeah, that would be fine. We've had a question about sound system, that whether we need to bring our own, or whether you've got it there, I don't know.
we don't have sound systems,
Uh-huh.
so.
So you
yeah,
outsource that, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that would have to be,
Okay, we'll
Got it.
worry about that. We've
Okay.
done it before.
okay.
Yeah,
So it'd be a $100 charge total.
okay, that's terrific.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the fee waiver request from the Idaho Choral That's presented.
Idaho International.
There it is, Idaho International Choral Festival.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Well, thank you, and thank you for your work with that.
Thank you, and thank you for your service.
Thanks, Arlen.
All right, court marshals. You changed a little, Paula.
You just not do your hair this morning, or what?
Yeah, bit different.
This is one where we need to go into an executive session, I believe.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we enter executive session under Idaho Code 74-206, 1 and D, to consider records that are exempt from disclosure.
Commissioner Moser?
Yeah.